Okay, so here is my layout, and there's a lot of texture to it. As with all of my projects, mostly I have a lot of texture. So first of all, I'm going to paint the anchor because that'll take a little bit of time to dry. Okay. So I'm going to use gesso, and this is an acrylic gesso. That doesn't want to come out. I feel like I'm gonna concentrate and not talk too much. Okay, so I'm gonna use my heating tool. Okay, and then what I did was I used Art Anthology's sorbet. I always get mixed up on how you say that, but don't laugh at me. And it's Viridian. I'm really bad at pronouncing, so this is a really, really rich color, and I am in love with this one. It goes really, really good with this, it's called Kenyan, and it is so, so pretty. So I use my fingers. It gets really, really super messy, but at the end of this class, I'm going to show you how you can take ink off if you find this product to remove paint. I use it to take off my stamps, and I clean up my mess with it. It gets most of it, but it actually takes most of it off your fingers too. See, look at this color, isn't it awesome? So I just did a rough coat with it. And make sure and have wet wipes on hand when you're using any kind of paints. It's handy. And then I'll give that a quick dry. So with this paint, I love what it does when I use my heating tool. It makes it bubble, and then it gives it more texture. I don't know if you can see up on the top there, I had a little bit gob of paint there, and I love the texture it gives it when you use the heating tool. Okay, so here's this another rich color. So it just kind of gives it a rust look, and I love that. And you could go as thick as you want or as little as you want. I just wanted to show, have the blue showing through a little bit. So I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. Let me get my fingers See, look at this already. Okay, and then next I'm gonna start doing the background. And what I like to do when I do layouts is I like to have a back sheet of paper besides the regular piece of paper, because it just gives it sturdiness and it helps flatten out my page. And this actually is a pretty thick piece of paper, so, and I always try to cut off maybe about 1/8 of an inch, because if you're putting these in a scrapbook album, it will help. If they're really bulky like mine and full of texture, it'll help them fit in the sleeve better. Okay, so on this one, so I'm gonna cut, where's my, I just mark it where I'm gonna cut it. And I love to do distressing on the edges. That's my thing, I guess. I just love it. I love the look of it. Oh, I can leave that here. And you can, I've seen people use scissors for distressing. At one time before I got this tool, I actually used a little piece of, it was a metal embellishment, and I just kind of ran it on the edges of the paper, and it gave it a nice look. And I did that to both of the papers. This one's a little, it barely shows, but I just want to make sure you don't have any questions. Let me check this chat here. Aside, so this is upside down, and then I'm going to apply, this is acrylic gesso, and I do it to part of the page, and I always put too much, but I guess that's what happens. So what I found is I like using a bank card, or this is a AAA card, to just lightly get a coat on there. And look at that, I put too much. And this just helps the paint where it doesn't soak through your paper. Okay, so I'm going to give that a quick dry. A lot of times I'll turn it on the back side and give it a quick dry in there, and it helps to flatten it out. And so I'm going to use the cracked stencil from Anthology, and I love this stencil. It's really fun to work with. And I ran out of the mud from Anthology, so I thought, well, what could I use? And I found that this velvet dimensional paint was perfect. It worked like a mud or a modeling paste, and it has glitter in it. Or is this the one that has glitter? I probably grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, I think I grabbed, it wasn't the cotton. Let me see. I think it was the linen, and this is a sorbet. So this one has glitter in it. And I just ran it through the stencil. And if you're working with stencils, I have found that it's a good idea to have a bucket of water or a little tray of water close to you. So if you're, working with different stencils at one time, I soak them so they don't dry out. And I mean, you can clean them, but it's kind of a pain. So I just have water and I soak it until I'm done with my project. I just love their paints. They're so versatile. You can use them for however you want. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that yet, but I'm going to give it a quick dry and then I'll do some spraying with the colorations. Let me wipe off my spatula. Sabrina, are you here? I see usernames, but I don't see a name. So I'm thinking that must be Sabrina. And then I see Miss Suze, I guess, G. It's nice to have you here. So I'm going to give this a quick dry. Check if it's dry enough, because if it's not dry enough, it's probably going to blend in with the coloration, so I need to make sure it's completely dry. Okay. Yay, Sabrina, it's nice to see you here. Okay, and I always go to the edge of my desk and give it a quick run on the edge, and it helps straighten out the page too. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to use colorations, and this is called Salmon. This is a really pretty color. And this part always scares me. It doesn't matter how many times I do layouts, things run differently. The spray, it doesn't spray the same as the last project, so sometimes it doesn't turn out like you hope, but we'll do our best here. And what I did was give it a quick spray. And then if you don't like a spot where you sprayed, where it's too much, just dab it off. Already I can see I sprayed too much up there, but that's okay. Give it a quick dry. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the glitter with that Chauvet, the linen, but it'll show up even more when I spray the peacock feathers. And I'm trying to do this here. And this is what's scary, but then it's fun. And then if you want to dilute it, I just have a spray bottle handy and just kind of make it move around. Forgot to spray down here. This is my favorite color right here. This peacock feathers. So, you know, you can do experiment. You can, sometimes I'll get just a piece of white, little piece of paper, and I'll spray a few sprays with some other colors just to see what it looks like before I actually do a project. And then other times I just go for it, and it turns out. I don't know how, but it turns out. So what I'm trying to do is kind of blend them just enough to give it, to show some brown. I love how it's kind of blending a little bit, but it still has the two colors there. And I just play, you know, I just have fun. I just want to make sure it's not blurry, because sometimes if I go close to my camera, it blurs up the view. Everything looks good? Hi, Patty. Okay, so I think I like what it looks like so far. It resembles the page I did, so let me give it a couple tries here. Okay, does anybody have any questions yet? Okay. Let me make sure it feels pretty dry. Oh. So I'm gonna glue down to the back side. My hands get sticky when I touch that glue. I love it, but it's kind of a pain. So it might warp a little bit because it's not completely dry, and sometimes I wait overnight to actually put the back part of the paper on, but since we're doing class right now, this is what I'm gonna do. And so I'm going to cut, let me see here, I did half circles. Okay, this is my handy circle cutter. And my circles, I found that they don't have to be perfect because I use the distresser and it doesn't look perfect anyway. So Brandy, are you keeping up? Are you doing your page or your project? Is anybody working on anything right now, or? This paper right here, Patty, Julie, is from Prima, and let me see the exact name of it. This one's the Vintage Emporium collection. And this background paper is from Prima also, and that one is from the French Riviera. Oh, yay. Oh, I'm glad you're playing, Brandy. Isn't it fun? Okay, so then I cut the circle in half. Sometimes I don't even know where I get these crazy ideas of putting these layouts together, but somehow they work. And then I have this huge die, Sherry Lynn die, doily die, and I can't find it right now, but it's huge. And I wanted to add more interest on the page, so I thought, well, I'm going to cut that out. And so I cut this in half also. Actually, I cut it a little, one side is a little smaller. And it's just for more texture. And I actually need to cut down this half circle on the right side. And gotta love cheesecloth. I love using cheesecloth. It gives it texture, it just gives it interest. You can spray it, you can leave it white. Okay. Am I going too fast for you, Brandy? Okay. So I'm going to glue this half circles down. Okay. I'm going to keep my page up so I can see what I need to do next here. So I have a stamp. Let me see, where's my scratch piece of paper? So if you have scraps around and you want to just add a little more interest to your page, I go to my scrap box and I try to find paper that coordinates with whatever I'm working on. And I mean, you can get some good use out of your scraps. And I love Stays On. It's great stuff, but it stays on your fingers too. That didn't turn out very well. Let's try again here. They seem to dry out quickly. I barely have had this a month, I think, and it's already feeling like it's getting dry. Well, that's a little better, but oh well, we'll just... Okay, I'm just trying to get all my embellishments and little add-ons. So I cut out a little piece for a little tag. And distress this. Get my twine. Okay, so we're gonna start embellishing, and then actually I have one more scary part. This is always really scary to me. I love stamping, but sometimes it doesn't work out, and it just messes up the page. To me, it messes it up, but let me get the page. So on this page here, there's some stamping right here. It kind of looks like netting. And it looked okay, but I was wishing it looked a little better. So this is a little Prima stamp. It's scary. I think when I did this page, though, I did the stamping after I put all the flowers and everything on, so sometimes that's a challenge. Let me put one more. Okay, that scary part is done. Okay, I'm gonna grab the little picture of my daughter so I kind of know where to put the embellishments. So I just have a bunch of flowers that I placed all over the place. So I put a little pop-up on this little tag so it wasn't laying flat. I just want to make sure everything looks okay on the camera, on the screen, I should say. So I have a ton of flowers on this page, and I'm just going to lay them out first and then I'll glue them down. Sometimes it takes me minutes to do this, and other times I will play with it and play with it for a while. Like, I don't want them to line up right underneath each other, so I'll walk away and go do, you know, clean up in the kitchen or feed the kids or whatever, and then I'll come back. I'm trying to see what my outline is on the page here. Oh, let me distress this. And let me put some dimension on this. You guys will get a sneak peek of my project for next week. I'm going to do another Ustream live class. Spit that one out, right? Okay, I think I'm almost done with the flowers. And then I actually had some shells from the beach that I collect that I thought would go great with this page. This is a little different. I don't think I had a few of the flowers. I don't, you know, when I buy certain flowers, I don't buy two of them, two packages. Okay, so here's a cute little shell and then two other ones. So there's the layout. So I'm going to glue these down and then and then I'll put the glitter and the beads on. And what else? I see sequins. Any questions? Anybody? I just want to make sure I see the comments here, the chat. And even when I have it lined out, I go back and glue them down. They never go where they were because I kind of just lose track of where they were, or they don't get glued down or whatever. So this die here basically got covered, but it does show up a little bit. They need to make Ustream where you can interact with one another. That would be fun. I think it would be fun to hear, listen to chat, so we can chat. Maybe they'll change that one day. Oh, Sabrina, I'm sorry, which I used? You're going to laugh at me because I don't even know how to say it. But this one I used, it starts with a V. It's Viridian. And then I also used Kenyan copper, and that's the orange. And then I used the linen, and that was, I used that for like the texture paste because I ran out of the mud. Don't laugh at me. So I used the peacock feathers and the colorations and salmon. These colors that I'm working with right now are some of my favorite colors to work with. But then when I play with pink and purple, I love those too, but these are my very favorite. It reminds me of the beach, and I just love who doesn't love the beach? Okay, the white. Yeah, that was linen. I picked up cotton and I thought that's what I used, and this one was actually a velvet, but it didn't have the glitter in it, and so linen, on the page in person you could actually see the glitter, so I love that, how it turned out that way. This is where my fingers get so full of glue. Okay, what I do is I always press them down afterwards so they stay. Okay, I have these crystals. I put in some of the centers of the flowers. I love lots of sparkle on my pages, and that's why I use beads and these little gems and sequins. You can use buttons. Okay, so let me see here. So the little anchor is done. It's dry. And it didn't, let me see. It didn't turn out quite as good as I wanted it to. Let me put another little coat. And you can go back as many times as you want with this. It's so awesome. I love this paint. And if you put a light coat of the sorbets, it dries pretty fast. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you here at the class here, I'm going to show you how to get rid of this ink on your fingers. So this will dry quickly. Can you see that little bubble? I love what this paint does under the heating tool. It's just, I love the bubbles. It just makes it look so cool. Okay, so now for the last part of this, and what I do is I use a lot of paper plates. I don't know if there's an easier way or a better way, but I go through a lot when I'm doing beads and glitter and any kind of little texture. Let me see, where's my little spatula? So this is fun, but I never know where I'm gonna add it. So I just take a little bit out at a time, and then I'm gonna put some cream colored beads on first. I do it different ways. Sometimes I use a texture paste for the beads, and then I also use a 3D gel, but I ran out. And then sometimes I'll actually mix my beads with other micro beads. It just depends. So just get them coated good, and this. I just I spread them out. And then because this is coated so much, I can actually go in afterwards and put some micro beads on, and it'll do 2 for 1. Let me put a little bit more here. And there will be times when I put the beads on my flowers, or just to give it more craziness, I guess. And I have some micro beads. And then I have more beads. So it looks like it's not going to be clear. It just looks like glue. But once it dries, it's actually clear. So your beads will show. Let me see, there's one more texture, and this is a Recollections, I guess it's mica flakes. It feels like glitter, so it's not like the regular mica flakes where they feel that they're not soft like these are. And what I do sometimes is I'll just go in and push this is where my fingers get glue, full of glue, crazy. Okay, and now I see we have, oh, let me finish up the anchor. So what I did on the anchor is I wrapped some of the twine on it. I'm looking at the comments here. Let me see. I'm not sure. It should be under the shore bays. Maybe she's out. I haven't been on the site for a little bit, so I'm not sure. I'll get back with you though, Sabrina, and ask Stacy to see why it's not on the website. I just love that little texture add there. My fingers are gluey. Okay. I just did a little knot here. And this is kind of big. I had a smaller one, but it was like almost too small. So I thought, well, just go big then, right? And actually, I was supposed to put this down first, but that's okay. Before this big flower. Okay, that one doesn't want to go the way it should. The other one was kind of shaped in an S, but this one wants to do its own thing. And so we have the sequence, and then we're done. And then actually, sometimes if I want even more sparkle, I'll go and put some glitter down on top of the beads. And then after all this is dry, I'll shake off my page. And another good tip is when you're working with beads and micro beads, what I do at the end of my project, I'll have, even if I try to sweep them up, I'll still have some underneath my page. And so what I do is get a paper plate and I swoop them on the plate, and then I have a little container that has a whole bunch of, I'll show you here, has a whole bunch, a mix of all kinds of beads and colors that I've worked with. So anyway, it's really cool. I used it on one of my little tags I made a couple weeks back on a mermaid, and it was awesome. So don't waste those beads. They do, even if they're mixed with the other colors, it turns out really, really pretty. So I'm trying to look for my the sequins, and I have a bag. So what I do is place them down first. My fingers are full of glue. And sometimes I'll stick it on top. But I still put glue on there because most times it doesn't stay. My gosh, my fingers are so full of glue. The sequins don't want to come off my fingers. Okay, I'm gonna glue those down real quick, and what I do is I use the texture paste. It's easier than my Fabri-Tac because this tends to blow out and it's just a mess. Someday I'm gonna get me some tweezers. Maybe, I don't know if that will help, but I'm gonna give it a try. And then we have these little ones. Should have did those first because my fingers are so full of glue. Sabrina, are you going to try a layout? You need to show me if you do. Or are you just going to work on tags with mixed media? The cards are fun to work with mixed media too. I love the last batch of cards I made. I was using some sprays. This is a little more challenging because they're tiny. Okay, I think that is it on this page. Let me make sure and look on. So I always like to show you guys what my original page looks like and what the one I recreated looks like. So hopefully you can see that all pretty darn close. So I'm gonna, I know, I forgot one texture item. So I found this stuff at Michael's, and I don't know what it's called, but it just says naturals on it. And it's this fun stuff to work with. But on the original page, I put a little bit here just for some texture. So I'm not gonna do that because it'll just be too much of a pain. But that is some fun stuff to work with. Okay, I'm going to show you a sneak. Well, I'll just show you the whole project for next week. And this is so much fun. So here's an altered bottle and lots of spraying and lots of dimensional paint. I love these colors. I used a lot of gold on here, so hopefully you guys can make it for next week. It might be a little bit later. It's a little bit of a challenge because I have to pick up the kids from school. And okay, I'm going to show you. I'll keep you guys posted with posts on Facebook. So here's the trick on getting this paint off. We have used this stuff for I don't know how long, quite a few years now. We get this at Costco. I'm not sure if you can get it anywhere else, but it's an oil eater, a cleaner, degreaser. And actually I just spray I go to the sink and I spray, and most times it takes the glue off, but it's like a miracle. But it takes almost all the paint off. And if I was at the sink, it would be better, but I'm just trying to show you how it does take quite a bit of the paint, because I've gone out and my fingers were so full of paint stains. So see, most of it, except for my fingernails, but it does help take a lot of it off. And if I have, a mess on my desk, I clean it up with that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and hope you guys can show up next week for the bottle. And then I think I will be doing another class, maybe the beginning of September. But thank you so much for coming by. I hope you guys get to try our Anthology products, because I am in love with them. I love the dimensions, I love the texture, and the stencils are fun to work with, and I just have a blast working with them. So have a great day. Hope you guys can make it next week. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Sabrina. I'm not sure if I missed somebody here. So take care.